Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar this morning. Just a couple of quick notes before we start. This webinar is going to be recorded, of course, for you to access later or for you to share with any peers or colleagues. During the presentation, everyone will be muted. And we ask that any questions that you may have be reserved for the end of the meeting, and you can utilize the Q&A section to post those questions. Additionally, we will send this out via email afterwards for you to review. Again, this webinar is featuring management by exception within SAP TM and focusing on business transformation through process automation. My name is Mark Serpling. I serve as the engagement manager for our Americas business. With me joining today and leading the functional discussion around SAP TM is Nicholas Runge. He's our practice director here located in the U.S. for our transportation and logistics business in the Americas. Very brief agenda. We're going to do a quick introduction to Westernacher Consulting for those that are not familiar. That'll be followed by an overview of the functional capabilities and process overview by Nicholas. Then we'll dive into the actual management by exception concept and focusing on process automation. And then last but not least, an opportunity at the end of the session for questions. So Westernacher Consulting, we were founded in 1969 in Heidelberg, Germany. From there, we spread through Europe. Then 20 years ago, we moved to the U.S., established a headquarters in Boston, and then spread to Phoenix, Arizona as well. Within the U.S., we have over 100 consultants, both technical and functional. From there, we've expanded into Mexico and Canada, where we've also established, we have a well-established group of functional and technical consultants as well in both Mexico and Canada, as you can see here. Additionally, we've also expanded into Europe and the Middle East in the locations that you see on the screen. Westernacher Consulting specifically is a niche consulting firm focusing exclusively in the SAP supply chain. We view ourselves as an end-to-end supply chain partner. You can see the areas below. In particular, for today's conversation, we're going to focus on the transportation aspect, but then we also have established practices in the warehousing and yard logistics area as well. Within the execution area, and Westernacher additionally provides add-on solutions for these SAP products that can then add additional capabilities and usability aspects. In addition to the transportation webinar that we have today, please also have or take an opportunity to go to westernacher.com to take a look at additional webinars in some of these other areas and additional learning material as well.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay.
My name is Nicholas, and I will introduce you now to the concepts of transportation management, the functional capabilities of the standard solution, as well as a process overview before we dive into details of management by exception. So what is SAP Transportation Management? SAP Transportation Management is part of the supply chain execution platform of SAP. This platform, as you can see here, consists of three major parts, which is a transportation component, a warehouse component, as well as a tracking and tracing component. This supply chain execution platform can be further extended, of course, with other SAP solutions, most likely with an SAP ERP system to leverage their order management capabilities as well as financial processes. You can also further extend it with SAP GTS for any custom and compliance management or any other SAP component you may require to fulfill your transportation processes. However, I will not go into much more detail in this slide here or the deployment options, because we will also release very soon a webinar talking exclusively about deployment options of SAP TM. However, SAP TM is of course also available as an embedded version in the new S/4HANA system of SAP. Let's talk about the functional areas of SAP Transportation Management real quick. SAP TM is built out of multiple components, as you can see here on this screen. The first component is contract management. Contract management supports you strategically to either contract the optimal mix of carriers or to sell any excess of capacity on a market in an efficient way. The next component is order management. Order management manages basically the entire order management process in SAP TM. That can include an integration to an SAP ERP system to integrate any sales orders, purchase orders, or stock transfer orders. However, when you're an LSP, you can also, of course, also integrate any other orders, or you generate orders from the order management component directly in SAP TM, which is called forwarding orders. Once we have our orders in the system, we then have the opportunity to plan them through our network in an efficient way, either manually or completely automated. The SAP Transportation Planning component supports you with an optimizer, which is called the VSR optimizer, or the Vehicle Scheduling and Routing Optimization Engine, which is a sophisticated cost minimizing algorithm, which supports you greatly in here. Also supported through a load optimization engine, which optimizes the load space of trucks, trailers, or, for example, containers. This transportation planning piece also supports you with additional functionality in the area of carrier selection and freight tendering, but also in the geographical information system area. So that means SAP Transportation Management provides standard web services to connect GIS systems to provide you with an accurate distance and duration calculation, or with map services. The transportation execution piece is then enabling basically the execution of your transportation process. This can include the warehouse communication to an integrated SAP Extended Warehouse Management System, for example, but it also takes care of any freight formalities, basically. So it supports you in the generation of freight forms, for example, waybills, bill of ladings, etc. Of course, this is also supported through the logistics execution tracking through event management. That means SAP Transportation Management enables you to track expected or unexpected milestones efficiently. We are also partnering here with other external services like Forecast or Clear Metal to integrate logistics execution data from the outside world. The freight settlement component, of course, last but not least, supports you in the calculation of transportation charges from an LSP's perspective, for example, against your customer or against your carriers you may subcontract. The same applies to the point of view from a shipper's perspective. So let's put all these functional components in a sequence to build a transportation process in SAP TM, to have a good overview of the end-to-end process, which is relevant later for the management by exception process. As mentioned earlier, the order management component takes care of the order generation and at the end of the transportation demand generation in SAP Transportation Management. That means we can receive orders either through EDI or through manual type-in by, for example, the customer service representative in SAP ERP. The same order will then automatically be transferred into TM to generate a transportation demand represented by one or multiple freight units. The same freight units will then be pushed into the optimization component. So along with the demand we have generated, also network information as well as capacity and agreement information is used to generate an optimized output. This optimized output is what we call a freight order, which is a transport execution plan or bill of lading, for example. It has all the relevant information to execute this transport, for example, the source, the destination, or multiple destinations, as well as the business partners, the cargo information, etc. The freight order is used also for the communication with the warehouse. So we push this information into our extended warehouse management system to let the warehouse know when they should start picking, packing, and staging to meet the time windows. The same order is also used to communicate with any external carriers or with internal drivers, either through a web portal, which is provided by SAP, or through mobile applications, mobile driver application, for example, provided by Westernacher. This entire transportation planning process, or this end-to-end process, is managed usually in the transportation cockpit, what you see here in this little screen on the lower left side. So let's talk about management by exception. In the next section, I will explain to you how you can leverage process automation to transform your business and to achieve the next level of efficiency. As nicely indicated or shown here in this chart, the level of automation has drastically increased over the last 60 years. At the same time, the number of repetitive tasks has been decreased. However, the next level of productivity can only be achieved if you elevate your employees to focus on higher value tasks. And this is exactly done in the area where we are right now through intelligent enterprises and powered by SAP software. So that means we have available today intelligent software which is able to execute many tasks in a more efficient and automated way. So there's no need to hire expensive but intelligent resources to do micromanagement or tasks which are completely automatable through intelligent software. So there's no need to put your resources, work with Excel sheets, for example, to come up with a manual way of load consolidation or route optimization. So SAP TM, for example, is intelligent enough to figure this out within multiple seconds and not within hours. So the question is, can we achieve this level of productivity also with SAP Transportation Management through process automation? The answer is yes. So we can automate the entire process from the order entry down to the transportation execution completely. So to give you an example, let us assume that we receive orders until 8 o'clock at night, until we reach our cutoff date. We can also assume that the optimizer is intelligent enough, or the system is intelligent enough to pick up those orders in an automated fashion based on background jobs. We can set up profiles which are detecting the relevant orders to push them automatically into the optimizer engine to then perform one or multiple optimization runs to then come up with an optimal transportation plan. Of course, this transportation plan can then be released or pushed into the warehouse to communicate in a completely autonomous way. So the user who's coming the next day to work is not managing the transportation cockpit and doing these activities in a manual fashion again. The worker is coming to work in the morning to look ideally into a dashboard which is configured in a way that already highlights the exceptions only, and then communicate if needed with the carriers and the drivers. So how can this look like? So the traditional way of working in SAP Transportation Management is the transportation cockpit. You can also manage your exceptions through this cockpit. However, it might be overloaded with additional information, which is potentially not needed if you have a high degree of automation. So you should focus only on the information which is relevant for the user. What Westernacher has done over the last couple of years is we have developed a concept what we call Westernacher Control Tower. This is a Fiori-tized dashboard which highlights the exceptions with the red numbers. So this screen is minimized to the minimum set of data used or needed to execute the operations. This particular dashboard has 3 areas. It's a planning area, an execution area, and a KPI area. Behind each tile is additional information when you click into it to display, for example, the exceptions, or to display the remaining perfectly planned information. So the user is not restricted to actually access information. The screens are just not loaded with information not relevant for this particular moment. So how is this built and how is the system architecture looking like? Any Fiori front end we deliver is built in the SAP Cloud Platform. Through SAP infrastructure, or how it's called, all data services, we are able to connect any Fiori front end to one or multiple backend systems. So this is a huge advantage that you can connect multiple or consume multiple backend information systems in one front end. You can achieve real-time reporting and real-time analytics through connecting this front end and your system with an SAP HANA database. So let's have a deeper look into this management by exception dashboard. As mentioned earlier, you can see here the red numbers indicating any exceptions where the user has to deal with. That means the optimizer were potentially not able to find a suitable solution for this. All these exceptions, what you see here, are configurable. When you click into one of these exceptions, you will direct it into another screen where you have the affected orders in this case. By clicking another button, basically, you will trigger, for example, the optimizer to find another solution, or you manually add information here. So you can see that the user is only focusing the first hours of his particular workday on those exceptions to resolve them and not spend multiple hours to come up with any plan. The same dashboard has a KPI area where you can not only, as mentioned earlier in the planning area, manage basically exceptions by actively changing something. You will be also informed in an analytics way how your operation is actually running and can take actions from there. This KPI area already displays multiple KPIs and reports in this little tile. However, by clicking into one of these tiles, you will be directed to the actual backend system to have a better look into the actual data behind. You can also access an overview page here to have all these reports in one consolidated view and also take deep dive analysis from there. For example, by clicking into one of these numbers, where you then will be directed into the backend system to see actually the orders behind these numbers. Let me now jump into the system and give you a little bit insight into this management by exception dashboard. You see here the log-on screen of our management by exception dashboard. If I log on, you will be directed into this dashboard what I just showed you on the slides. You can see here that this dashboard is separated into three different areas, which is the planning area, the execution area, and the KPI area. If I scroll down, you have further information about KPIs, and you can also be linked to your website or any other external links. If I click in here, I will be directed to the Westernacher website. Just to give you an example, if I click here in assign carriers, I will be directed to another screen which indicates the freight orders affected. As you can see here, we have not found any carrier and no driver over multiple iterations of optimization. If I click here in details, I have further information about the trip. However, I have also the information or the opportunity to trigger the optimizer again or to manually add data in here. If I trigger the optimizer again through this button, the system is giving me multiple options which I can now assign to the order. It gives me a pre-selection of an own vehicle resource and an own driver, which were identified as available. If I click OK, the system is assigning it to the order and the problem is solved. So you can see here, the system is not only directing you to the orders affected, it also gives you options how to resolve this issue. If I accept this, you see that my number of exceptions is going down. The system also gives you a hint of what has been completed. As mentioned earlier, you can not only manage your exceptions through these tiles, you have also access to the rest of the data which was planned overnight. So you see here a light version of the freight orders as usually displayed in the SAP Transportation Cockpit or any other user interface in TM. If I click here in route, I have the same information. If I click here, I have also map information or any other functionality which is available in the SAP TM backend system. We're back now on the management by exception dashboard. Let us quickly dive a little bit deeper into the KPI section of this dashboard. The KPIs you see here are indicating your daily operations of your logistics processes. That also means that you can connect not only an SAP TM system to such dashboard, you can also connect an SAP ERP system, an SAP EWM system for your warehouse operations, or even an entire S4 suite. Behind each of these tiles, you will see that there is a larger report indicated by these KPIs. The color coding already indicates if you have to manage here any exceptions or if your operation runs smooth. If I dive now into the driver utilization report and click the tile, I will be directed directly into the underlying report from where I can take additional actions, or I print it, or I download simply the report. All actions can be further configured. Not necessarily all the reports are available in such tile form. However, All the other reports are available in the system and can be called through an overview page. If I click here in this overview page tile, you see a new window is opening, and the data gets loaded from the backend system. SAP Fiori provides you the opportunity to run such dashboards not only in a desktop application, but also on a mobile application or a tablet. All screens are adaptive, as you can see here. If a widen is, the system will adjust to the size. For the sake of the demo, I will now maximize the screen to provide you full access to this report. The system also provides you here with additional filter criteria based upon the underlying data, so that you always have the most accurate and most relevant data visualized. If I scroll down here, you see different ways of visualizing the data. For example, this donut indicates a number of 51 with pickups per country. If I click into this donut, the system will direct me directly into the TM system to confront me with the underlying data. You can see here that the system is providing another report with the underlying data of the freight orders. From here, I can have a deeper look into these orders, or I can simply print it or download it. Also here, the color coding indicates if my operation runs smooth or if I have to take action by certain exceptions. As indicated earlier, I have filter functionality. To give you an example, I will filter here for the data for DHL. That means also now the system is now reloading this entire dashboard with only DHL relevant data. The same data can also be exposed, for example, to your carriers to confront them with their performance. In this case, DHL performs well, and I see here on the color coding that my operations with DHL run smooth. However, same concept. If I click into such donut or such bar, I will be confronted with the relevant data. Let's go back to our dashboard. We hope you enjoyed the session. We could bring you the management by exception concepts and SAP TM closer. We will also be happy to get in contact with you to have a more personalized demo and discuss your processes and potentially a management by exception concept for your environment. We have now time for questions. So we have here a little window on the right side where you can ask any questions you may have. So the first question asked is, the data reflected in the control tower, is this available in real time? The answer is yes. So the data, what you have in the control tower can be reflected in real time, and this is the optimal case. To support this in real time, of course, you need to have a proper database in place. What I mentioned earlier, so we recommend to run your operations on an SAP HANA database, which is powerful enough to replicate this data in real time. When it comes to tracking and tracing information, of course, it depends what kind of functionality you want to leverage. GPS data, of course, can be integrated. However, this also requires GPS responders either in your resources or in the mobile application where we run our mobile apps, for example. And another question is the control tower available in standard TM? The answer is no. However, to build such control tower, we leverage standard functionality of SAP. That means we use the capabilities of SAP Fiori and connect basically these front ends with your backend system. And we define basically through custom code, of course, or through building custom OData services to consume this data in the front end. However, also this automation functionality, what I explained earlier, is completely not out of the box. Yes, it is standard software capabilities. However, you need, of course, to also leverage this to its highest degree of automation. Yeah, it's not that you switch on the box and it's there. You have basically to configure processes which enable also a process automation, which is then basically consumable as part of a control tower. Is this concept limited to any industry? It really depends. I mean, some industries have more an ad hoc way of planning. So, of course, we can set up the optimizer in the fashion that it runs every hour, every minute, in case it has to be. However, it really depends on the business and on the specifics. I would say it is not potentially compatible with every single industries. However, what we have realized is the very high degree of automation in the retail industry. We usually have your picking and packing activities or your warehouse and planning activities overnight, what I try to visualize here also in this process screen. However, I mean, we have achieved this also in other industries, in the high-tech industry and in areas like that. I think we are through. If you feel that you have any questions afterwards, you see here on the screen our email addresses. So feel free to send us an email. And if you need any other information potentially related to management by exception or transportation management or any other field we support, for example, also warehouse management or IBP, feel free to reach out to us. Okay.
Thank you very much again for those who attended today, and we will conclude this webinar. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.